Hey RV family, keep it tight. My name is J Morse, the review guy, reviewing music for the love of music, and I'm back again to bring you another video. And in this one I'm going to be covering the new Viscera record entitled Obsidian. I gotta roll up the sleeves. I am very excited to talk about this release. This is the big debut record for this band that has been dropping some singles ever since 2019. They're a bit of a super group of sorts. Band members coming from everywhere from Martyr Defiled to Heart of a Coward and Sylosis. Their tastes are very eclectic. They don't pigeonhole themselves, they don't lock themselves down to just one style. So much so that it surprised me to see this land on Unique Leader Records, which is how I discovered this album. I was going into it completely blind, unaware of any of the singles that released in anticipation for it. Because for the most part, from Unique Leader Records, I'm used to hearing very slam death metal centric bands, deathcore bands, usually in the wheelhouse of something with brutal slapped in front of it. Don't want to so much say that they stay in confinements, but they have a very consistent style to the bands they like to sign, and I'm not used to hearing this much variety. Because as soon as I heard the opener, Delilah, I was frankly blown away. And it wasn't just because of the whole Unique Leader Records thing, it was just because of how well assorted this track goes. I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with the band Within the Ruins, specifically their album Halfway Human. This album seems like the love child, the bastard love child of Halfway Human by Within the Ruins and Meshuggah. It is a tapestry of deathcore, of tech death, of djent and metalcore, with demonic symphonic elements, with djenty riffs and metalcore breakdowns and very Within the Ruins-esque futuristic tapping riffs. Plenty of down-tuned chugginess, blast beats hitting you in a flurry from left, right, and center. Tech death crispness working its way in there quite often. And I'm really digging how gnarly these vocals sound. They sound a lot like Mitch Lucker from early day Suicide Silence, or even a little bit of Phil Bozeman from Whitechapel. Going back to Delilah, next thing you know you're getting this soaring metalcore type chorus. And in this section the whole track opens up wide, and directly after they hit you with this djenty breakdown. Now on the topic of choruses, I will say I feel like sometimes the progression in the way the instrumentation is played doesn't do it enough credit. Sometimes the chorus seems like it's going a bit slower than the instrumentation. While it's just going blistering, full throttle, firing off on all cylinders, the choruses are getting a little bit more meditative even though it is in a scream delivery. And I just wish sometimes it would have matched that tempo a little bit cleaner. But for the most part, these choruses grew on me a lot, and they really are sticky and catchy, which is surprising to say for a genre and for a band that plays in the vicinity of genres like death metal, genres like deathcore. But throughout time it's becoming more clear and more overall apparent that bands are willing to experiment with that, so I'm not super surprised. Because on this record, Viscera is not only proving that they are capable of churning out consistently and relentlessly banger after banger after banger as an assortment of musicians, but showcasing the level of proficiency to make sure that no instrument, no vocal line hangs in the backdrop or has any sort of lull, and that everything is up to snuff and playing on a level playing field to give this whole album a very whole feeling. It's absolute controlled chaos, and if I've heard any record this year that seems like an untamed beast trying to go for the jugular, I assure you, this gets my vote of confidence. As with any review though of mine, I do have some critiques for the record. I would say there's a little bit of a mixing imbalance or just a general inconsistency on certain tracks. The first single, Lamb to the Slaughter, is absolutely fantastic. It's one of my favorite tracks on the entire record. However, the mixing on literally every facet of this track is just unmistakably different and a bit abstract compared to other tracks here. The low-end, dingy quality of the drum work on this track is just a stark contrast to how blunt and pummeling and in-your-face it is on other tracks. And also with how the vocals just kind of swallow the mix whole, whereas in many other tracks sometimes they go a little bit in the background, the instrumentation is able to take the forefront, whether they're lacing in some spoken word bits with different effects thrown on them, layering vocals, having some of the high-end frequencies be a bit lower than the mainline instrumentation so it doesn't have so much of a piercing, sharp effect to it. Because highs in metal habitually have a way of just being very, very sharp in the mix, and if you don't lower them comparatively speaking with growls, which usually are able to be a little bit more bassy, a little bit forward-facing. You end up getting a little bit of an inconsistent vibe. Sorry for the little mixing tangent. And as I progressed through this record on repeated listens, I started to notice bits and pieces from different tracks that do seem a little bit different in the mixing quality. And I want to say, this is just a minor detail and a nitpick more than anything else. So don't take this explanation as just some major thing, some major distraction, some major obstruction from enjoying the record. It's just more so probably the biggest thing that sticks out to me. And while I do enjoy the little interlude burst, Lilith, it comes at an odd time. It's near the end of the record, it's not in the middle, and it's not a penultimate track either, and it doesn't really cohesively lead into the next track in any way that I can notice. It's just sort of there, and they kind of lay into the cinematic camp that you would hear from like a D-tier doom metal band. And on the subject of cohesion, I don't think that Lilith really blends in with anything else on the entire record, and probably would have served better as like an introduction to the start of the record, maybe Delilah, or the end of the record. But all in all, Obsidian is not only a fully fleshed out debut release, but an absolutely amazing release whether you're a supergroup or not. It is extremely focused, it doesn't overstay its welcome, the breakdowns are super full of flavor, the whole mix sounds so full of life, it seems so whole without sacrificing that necessity for feeling raw. Because this album does, all in all, I must admit, it does have a really sharply clean production. It has the production of many other Uniquely to Records bands when you go into that slamming deathcore vicinity, but it has this eclectic style. It's the most unique thing that I've heard from Uniquely to Records in a hot minute. And without spoiling it too much, Silentium, it's one of my favorite songs of the year so far. So yeah, I am overall super impressed by how eclectic the styles here are. I really enjoy the production. I really think the band put their best foot forward and took some risks to incorporate singing, these choruses, and even though they don't hit every single time as hard as they do on other tracks, I appreciate the effort and I admire their ability to step out of the comfort zone of what you conventionally get of what is considered the orthodox deathcore style. Not to mention the futuristic tapping djenty feels. I really appreciate how much goes into this album. And I feel like anyone's gonna have a hard time really saying that this band really didn't incorporate a lot that makes it sound pretty fresh while still sticking to a blueprint that is going to be widely applicable to a lot of fans. I'm going to be giving this album an 8.5 out of 10. And that is a wrap. Have you heard this new Viscera record, Obsidian? If you have, let me know in the comment section below what you thought about it. I would love to discuss the record with you. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to join the review family today, and smash that notification bell to be notified of my future uploads. You know who it is. My name is Jay Morris, the Review Guy, and I'm signing off saying farewell.